All right, folks, Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. Here we go with our NFL line movement report, starting a brand new week. We've got 1 week in the cookie jar. A quick recap of week one. We saw upsets and some of the things we've talked about. Hey, listen, football seems like it's football, fans or no fans. But the one thing that I do think will be part of the equation are some teams handled the camp and the no preseason better than others. So don't go crazy and overreact, because I think in week 2, week 3, some of these teams are going to get their act together. But we are seeing some reaction to numbers already. So now what we're going to do, over at the Westgate, the Superbook, Jay Kornegay, his staff, they do a great job. They put numbers up a week in advance. So here are the numbers that were up for the games prior to them being played on week 1. And we're seeing the reaction as they rehang the numbers. And then we'll tell you where we think these numbers will go as the week progresses. All right, here we go. Gatling gun. Got a lot of cool stuff to get to. Let's start with the Thursday night game. Cincinnati and Cleveland. The number that was hung for week 2 in advance. The Browns, 7.5. The total on the game, 46. Listen, the Browns got pumped by Baltimore. There's no great disgrace in that. Harbaugh does this every year with the Ravens. They come out of the gate like Rusty at the dog track. But it was Cincinnati that was pretty impressive. Burrow, pretty calm, ran for a touchdown. Now, the majority of stuff he's doing is throwing underneath. He missed Green over the top. Did get a touchdown to Green late. That was offensive pass interference. Bullock misses the field goal. Heartbreak for the Bengals. The one thing I would anticipate here is the total will come down. Total sitting at 48. I can see that number creeping down in the 45, maybe as low as 44.5. All right, Rams cross country to take on the Eagles. Philly minus 3.5 was the number. Philly lays an egg. 8 sacks they give up to the Redskins of all teams. So now the number that's up for this week, Philadelphia, a 2-point favorite. Total in the game is 48. The cross-country travel is always an issue. A Sunday night game for the Rams, then the cross-country travel. Even though the Eagles looked ugly, people do know the importance of not going 0-2. I can see 3 popping back up because of the cross-country travel. Carolina's at Tampa Bay. This is the number that was up, 8.5 for the Bucks. Total 48. It's come down, 48.5. Come down to 8 because, listen, Carolina hung in there with the Raiders, if not kind of squandered the game away. But Bridgewater looked good. McCaffrey's a stud, and they played hard in the game. Tampa Bay had a great first drive for Tom Brady. Then the Saints, as we did discuss in this video last week, I think the Saints were just sick of hearing about Tampa Bay. Hey, we're still the gold standard in this division. It's a one-off. Brady did stretch the field a couple of times, and I thought the running game was okay. I think Tampa Bay is going to be okay, but that's a tough game they played at New Orleans. I would not overreact to it. This number is down to 8. I bet you it goes back up. I can see 8.5. This one maybe even approaching 9. Denver, Pittsburgh, the number that's up, waiting to see how these teams fare. Pittsburgh, 6.5. Total on the game, 44. Again, you get that move out to altitude. Don't forget, Pittsburgh travels really well, except there are no fans. But that doesn't mean they're not a public team and they wouldn't show up on the board. Atlanta and Dallas. Dallas, a 7-point favorite. Total on the game, 50. Atlanta, Ryan, Ridley, they can throw, but they can't stop anybody. Russell Wilson shredded them. And Dak Prescott will absolutely be salivating in this spot. I can maybe even see this one going up a hook up to 7.5 and probably a bump up, maybe even the total from 50 up to 51-ish, 51.5, maybe even 52. I think they will bet the over in this game. How about San Francisco? We talked about them last week. Great year last year, but was it a one-off? I did say I thought they'd regress a little bit this year. Did they regress, or did Arizona get that much better, or was it the perfect combination of both where Arizona knocks off San Francisco? So you got the Niners cross-country take on the Jets, laying 6, total in the game 43.5. Even off the loss, San Francisco, this number goes up to 6.5. It's going to get to 7. The Jets' offense was atrocious at Buffalo. Really, the only score they got, it was a jailbreak blitz by the Bills. and you had Darnold with a quick out screen by Crowder, stepped through 2 tackles and ran 1,000,000 yards. Jets offense was a disaster. Bell got nicked up in the game too. That number will get to 7. The aforementioned Bills, they win 27-17. They should have won that game by 30 points. Josh Allen looked really good with his feet, using the weapons. Diggs, Brown, Beasley, Knox, the tight end. They got to get the running game going better. And Allen running a little too much for my liking. He fumbled the ball a couple of times. But the Bills really, don't let that score fool you. That was no 27-17 kind of game. I mean, the Bills mauled them. There was a cakewalk. 3.5 was the number. It's up to 4. I could see the Bills, that number going up a little bit into that 4.5, 5 range, and you get into that dead zone. But I think there could be a run on this number. Fitzpatrick is Fitzpatrick. It just didn't work. And listen, the clock's ticking. Tua is going to be jumping in the lineup here for the Dolphins pretty quick. The total on the game is 43. Minnesota, Indianapolis, the Colts, minus 2.5 was the number. Total 46. Hosting Minnesota. Minnesota, no defense. Indy spits the bed against Jacksonville, but the number's gone up to 3. So obviously more of a fade on the Vikings. And where's the defense? Vikings can score, but they can't stop anybody. But I was wrong. I've never liked Phillip Rivers. I thought Phillip Rivers, maybe with Frank Reich, could be something new and work. And it may still, but really, right out of the gate, same old thing. But that number's probably locked on 3. Detroit, Green Bay 5.5. Total on the game, 46. Packers offense, Rodgers looking really good out of the gate. Devontae Adams, they got the running game. Their defense a little sketchy too. Big deal for Detroit if Golladay can get back in. When he was ruled out with a hamstring, really hurt Detroit. They had a game in the bag, let it get away, let the Bears come back and beat him. Typical Detroit. 5.5 is probably the number. 6 would probably be the ceiling. Probably see that if Galladay's playing, that total could go up. Let's go to the Giants at Chicago. The Bears minus 5.5 in a dead zone. We were waiting to see how the Giants fare in their game at the time of this recording. Total on the game is 43. But the Bears, give them some credit, got to be feeling good about putting the rally caps on and getting the W against Detroit. Washington, Arizona. Arizona minus 6.5. Total on the game is 46. This is going to get 7. Even though Washington came back, they had all these sacks on Wentz, who really is nowhere near as mobile as Murray. Could be a letdown spot for Arizona. Washington kind of playing with house money. I think there's a chance 7s will appear. They may be bought back. Jacksonville's at Tennessee. Tennessee minus 11. The number before Tennessee even takes the field on the Monday night doubleheader, the number's already come down from 11 down to minus 10 because, listen, the Jags played hard. You got to give them credit. Minshew and company played hard, and quick reaction, the number come down just a little bit. Now, Sunday night football. New England's at Seattle. Seattle, the number was 3.5. It's up to 4. Total on the game is 44. New England, the defense is still really, 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 really good. Terrific secondary. But it was Miami. And Cam Newton got the job done, but the jury's still way out on New England. It's Belichick. He'll figure it out and he'll certainly make do with it. But, man alive, Russell Wilson looked really good. Carson was running like his hair was on fire. You got Metcalf, Disley, Lockett. He has weapons. Russell Wilson, flat out just a winner. He ate Atlanta alive. That number's sitting on 4. Crazy to think, but with the cross-country travel, that number could go up just a little bit. If anything, New England's so public. That's a tough one. I think it's a great number. The total in the game's 44. That probably sits right where it is. Monday Night Football, New Orleans minus 5.5. In Las Vegas, Raiders opening the new stadium, albeit with not much fanfare, nobody there. The total on the game is 50.5. High profile Monday night game. I think the total will go up. Breeze looks like he's in sync. He's got the weapons with Kamara and Thomas and now Sanders. Saints offense looks pretty good. Carr stretched the field. Their defense was pretty suspect against Carolina. Listen, another NFC South team playing the Raiders. One that I do think the total will go up in this game. 50.5, probably up to 51, 52. And then there were two more for you. Kansas City, 7.5 at the Chargers. Nothing pretty for the Chargers. They get the win. Tyrod Taylor, he's serviceable. They survived the game against Cincinnati. The clock's ticking. I mean, it's not going to take. At some point, they're going to want to get Herbert in there. They're going to do it. It's Cleveland all over again for Tyrod Taylor. It's just a pedestrian offense, and they survived. In Kansas City, it's not. I don't think you're seeing 7. It's amazing. You're going on the road, division game, but that number's probably where it's going to sit. And then Baltimore's laying 6.5 at Houston. That number probably gets to 7. Although don't forget, Houston extra time to prepare, had the Thursday night game. But Baltimore comes out of the gate, just another year, no preseason games, but they come out of the gate like a rabbit. And it's a great start to the season. So we think we got a little grip on these teams now. We've seen them. There was no preseason. Got a taste of what we think we're dealing with, but also don't overreact, because there's a lot of work to be done. Some of these teams will indeed change their fortunes from week 1 to week 2, even into week 3 and 4. But it's great to have football back. And as always, you want to get the best of the number. So that's what we're trying to do here, is get you ahead of the curve, because sometimes it's not just who you bet, it's when you bet them. I'm Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. There's your week 2 line movement report in the NFL for vegasInsider.com.